Hi.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Perfect. Hey, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I was wondering because I got stuck on the sort of microphone setup screen for a little while on interviewing.io, but I guess it's actually working fine, so that's good.
I see.
Anyways, I think what we'll probably do is just jump in and do sort of some technical work, and then I'll try and pause a little bit before the end, and we can chat a little bit if you've got any questions and that sort of thing. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so we have until 1:15 PST. Okay. So I will try and stop basically by 1:05.
Okay.
So let's see, we're almost at 40. So let's say 1:10, so that we'll have about half an hour to do some coding.
Okay.
First, what language are you most comfortable coding in?
So depending on the kind of question it is, I might alternate between Java or JavaScript.
Okay.
I hope that's okay. I hope JavaScript is okay with you. I know I am interviewing for a back-end position, but I have experience with Node.js, so.
Yeah, no, so either one is fine. I'm more interested in just whatever you're most comfortable writing in.
Sure.
So let's start in JavaScript, because actually it'll be probably a little easier for me to write this question out anyways.
Should I erase everything here? Maybe you could use the comments to type in your, yeah.
Yeah, okay, there we go. So, cool. So the idea that we're going to work through is basically, given an input that looks kind of like this.
Uh-huh.
And you can read this as basically being a sort of set of things that depend on each other. So all of the different keys in the object are the things that we would like to build. So we'll call them build targets.
Mm-hmm.
And then the value for each of those keys is essentially the list of other things that build target depends on. So you can read this as basically like there's something we'd like to build called A, and it depends on something called B and something called C. And then if we look at the B, right, that A depends on, we see that, there's also a B, and that B depends on C and D, and kind of so on all the way down. If you find a dependency that doesn't have a top-level build target, you can assume that it doesn't have any dependencies itself.
Okay.
And so what we'd like to do is basically write a function that takes a dependency map like this and will output a valid build order, where a build order that's valid is basically just one where everything gets built and nothing gets built before its dependencies have been built.
I see. So what would an example of an output be for this particular example?
Yeah, so like for this particular example, this is not the only correct output, but this is one. So let's say KJ, B, E, F, C, B, A.
Okay. So A is dependent on B, and A is also dependent on C, right? And so I see. So then B is dependent on C.
Right, yeah.
And B is also dependent on D as well.
Yep, exactly.
And D is dependent on, sorry, C is dependent on D. Am I right?
C is dependent on D. Correct, yeah.
I see. Okay. And then E is dependent on C as well. And F is dependent on C as well.
No, the other way around. So C is dependent on E and F and D. D, E, and F are not dependent on anything because they don't show up at the top level.
Ah, that's right. That's right. And okay, so then J is dependent on K. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
I see. So you would want a possible value is what you're saying.
Yeah, so like I would expect basically like the output would be a list. Sorry, let me.
A list of because I'm sure there's like another possible way to. So for instance, I think maybe you could have had, D, E, F, C, B, A, K, J, right? That would still be valid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you would only want.
You can reorder. You can basically reorder D, E, and F into any order. You can reorder like D, E, and F with K and J. Yeah, exactly.
So my question is, the output should be just any valid output, right? It's not all valid outputs, just any one.
Exactly. Yeah, and anyone that fits that criteria is good.
Okay. All right. So let's see the best way to look at this. Okay. So I'm kind of thinking about this as kind of like a graphish kind of problem. So the way I'm kind of thinking about it is, you could start from, I guess like I kind of wanted to transform the dependency map a little bit. So the way I wanted to transform it is have something like the neighbors, right? So B and C, I think or for B, right? Let's take B, for example. B's neighbor would be A. And by neighbor, I mean like child or whatever, right? Because B is pointing to A. And C's child would be B and A. And F's child would be C. So it's kind of like a graph, if I'm thinking about it correctly.
Sure.
So I wanted to see if I could kind of reconstruct it, but with objects. So I'm kind of making something like a node with like a next pointer and the current value and all that. So
makes sense.
So let's see. Function, I guess is called valid words, right? Sure. And I have a dependency map with me. Okay, so now, based on the dependency map, we can see that let's see. We want something like a function. Well, let's not call it function. We want to loop through the dependency map and get all the various letters, right? So let's do something like this, var letters. Okay, so now what we can do is dependency map for I equals 0, I is less than. So I want to loop through through the dependency maps, right? So I'm actually not entirely sure how to loop through this object and the keys of this object. Do you mind if I look that up real quickly?
Yeah, no, you're welcome to look any language documentation you need up.
Yeah, object keys in JavaScript. think it's var property and object, I think, is it?
I think what you actually want is just object.keys as a method of object. But so let's try this really quick. Oops.
Object.keys.
Yeah, I can see.
I see. So is it something? So if I do, okay, I see what this is. So maybe something like this: var keys equals object dot keys of the dependency map. Dependency map like that, and then do something like this: var I equals 0, I is less than keys dot length I plus plus. Okay, so now, let's see what we could do. If there's index of keys I is less than 0, since it doesn't exist, you just add letters dot push keys of I. Okay, so let's just see what this contains. Letters and valid words. Well, letters is not defined. A, B, C, and J. Okay, cool. But what we also need is we also want the values as well. So perhaps inside this guy, let's have another for loop here. So var values equals dependency map dot. So it is keys of I. So we want these values here. Var j equals 0, j is less than values dot length, j plus plus. We want to put this guy's logic over here. Okay. So in this for loop of values, what we want is this. If index of keys, not keys, values of j less than 0, letters dot push keys of current values. Okay, so now when we do this, A, B, C, D, okay, so something is off here. If it doesn't exist, then you push. B, C, D, D, E. Yeah, B is appearing twice, so let's see why. J plus plus. This is values J. Yeah, so why is the, okay, B and C, that's fine. This should fail, right? So I'm not sure why B is, I see, index of is less than. Okay, maybe that should fix it. right, there we go. So there's a bracket problem. Okay. All right, so now we have all our letters with us. So now, sorry?
I said the worst kind of problem.
Yeah, the worst kind, of course. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create I guess like an object. So where, I guess in this example, B's child would be A, right? Or A's child would be whatever. So since A is not inside a value, okay, so let's see how we can check this out. B does exist, okay. All right, so we want to loop through all the values. So let's see how to go. I'm not entirely sure how to loop through each of the values and get the key out of it. So let's see how to do this properly. Maybe we could do something like A's parent. So A's parent is B and A's parent is C, right? So maybe I guess we could like reverse it. So A's parent is B, A's parent is C, and B's parent is C as well, and B's parent is D. And then C's parent is D. And then C's parent is E as well, and C's parent is F, and J's parent is K. Okay, so in that case, let's just do it like this. For var I equals 0, I is less than letters dot length, I plus plus. Let's do something like this. For app equals new map. Okay, so now we'll do something like this. If our var values equals dependency map letters of I. Okay, so now we've got the values for this guy. Okay, so now with these values, we would want to do something like so something like this. Node, where you pass in the value and parent. This dot value equals value. Or actually, let's just do return object value colon value, comma, parent colon parents colon parents, right? So now, let's do this. If values is great, or if this values, then actually, hold on. Let's just do this. Or would be. Are you highlighting line 30?
No, I have my cursor there.
Oh, sorry about that. Never mind. Okay, so now what we want to do is map dot set node. Well, this would be letters of I, comma, node, letters of I, comma, values. So I guess instead of calling this values, let's just call this parents. Okay, so now let's do a console.log of the map and see what's going on. All right, so we've got something here. A's parents are B and C. B's parents are C and D. Yes, it is. And C has to have probably 3 parents, D and F. Cool. All right, so we've got something of a node structure going on here. Okay, so let's, now we want to do recursion to start from our root.
So I'm not sure how this actually has gotten us anything different from what we started with. Like, this looks to me like now we have a map of the same keys we had before, except for maybe we have more now, to like a value object instead of just the list. But like the value object effectively only contains the list.
Yeah, so I see that. So the thing is that in the original dependency map, I guess with D, so the idea that I was having was that I would use recursion to just go to its parents. We start at the end of the letter that we need, and we use recursion to go through the parents. And also, like for instance, we have our letter D, right? D doesn't have any parents, and I wasn't able to see that immediately when looking at the original input. But now with this map, we can see that D has no parents, E has no parents, F has no parents, and K has no parents.
Okay. Gotcha.
It just felt a lot more fleshed out for me. I could be wrong. I'm sure there might be ways to just do it with what we have, but for me, it just feels a lot more readable this way.
Yeah, no problem.
I hope that makes sense. We'll see what we can do with recursion here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in general, I think you're definitely going in the right direction. So I'm not.
Okay.
Nothing I've seen makes me think you're going off in a direction that won't work so far. I think the recursion strategy is a good one.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So let's see. I got like 11 minutes here, so it's kind of, we'll see if I can do this properly. So the problem right now is to see which node should we start with. And in this example, we should start with A. The reason for that is probably because it's well, I am actually not sure. So let's look back here and see what we can do. So A with B, B with D. Okay, that's fine. Then we want C. D goes to D. Okay. E, F. Okay. So let's see. D. D goes to D. All right. D goes to E. Okay. So what we also want to do right now is I also want to have a is visited flag here. Is visited. So this would be false. It hasn't been visited yet. Okay, so now let's go through recursion here. Function, recursion, and we'll have something like var path. Okay, so now we have a recursion here. We want to pass in the node, which is going to be map dot get. Suppose the first dependency. Well, let's just pass in this guy. Dependency map of what was it? Keys 0, right? Keys 0. Okay, and then we've got we we got the empty. We can add ND. Right. Okay, so we've got this guy here. Now we've got the node. We've got, well, actually, hold on. We need to do app dot get. Right, so dependency map of key 0, yeah, okay, so that should be A, and we've got this guy. All right, that's great. So if node dot oh, what's going on? If something's off with the here, not sure why it's node comma path. Okay, return path.
Gotcha. And what's the path variable for?
So the path variable is for, so I'm not, okay, so something is off with my, okay, so the path variable is just to find out the various paths, and then we'll just transfer it into the return path in our base condition, and then we'll just return the return path, or a possible path. So when I'm typing in my, okay, yeah, I don't know why it's going off like that. Like right. See, happens again. Okay, so if node dot parents length equals 0, that means it has no parents. Then what we can do is we can do a return path dot or equals path dot slice. Okay. So it's, yeah, something's weird about the I think, am I missing something here? Because I feel as though maybe there's like a bracket missing.
So I don't know if there's a bracket missing. We can, I guess, run and see. It does seem like there's something at line 35.
Line 35, huh? Dependency map.
Actually, no, you don't. Yeah, no, you give an extra bracket.
Extra bracket? I see.
Right next to parentheses. Oh,
extra parentheses? I see. Okay. Okay, maybe that might be... No, I'm still not happy.
Version mapped, I guess. It's 2 parentheses open, 1 bracket open, 2 bracket open, then close the brackets, number 1 parentheses, open, close, close. Okay, it's that, I think.
Ah, I see.
Okay, so it's unhappy.
Okay, got it. Okay, so now, okay, so I see. I think I was missing this guy. Okay, now that should be fine. All right, great, perfect. Okay, so, God, all right. So let's do this. Var, and this is var parents equals map dot get node dot value, right? So we have our parents with us now, and now we want to do a var I equals 0, I is less than parents dot length, I plus plus. And also what we want to do is we want to mark that we visited, right? I guess, yeah, so let's just mark that we visited. Node dot equals true. So actually, normally, I guess you might not need this part, but I'm actually not so sure, so let's just put it in anyway. If node.parents.length equals 0, okay, return that. For I equals 0, I is less than parents. Okay, now we want to do a recursion of the parents I, and we also want to do a path.push of the parents I dot value path. I think we could just return this guy. Right. I think you might just want to return it. Okay. So, but before that, what we also want to do is we want to do this for var I 0, I is less than what was it? I think it's dependency map dot length I plus plus. Oh, I think I'm allowed to use dot length on an object, right?
Yeah, you should be able to use length on a list.
Okay. So dot length, what I want to do is instead of this, yeah. Oh, that's an array though, right?
Yes. Sorry, what were you using it on? Oh, you were using it on the object itself?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
All right, you know what? Maybe let's just do keys. That's fine.
yeah, I don't think that.
All right, that's fine. Map.get. If map.get keys of I is visited, all right. Okay, so let's see if what I'm okay. Let's just see. If it is not visited, okay, go inside map.get dependency map keys I. Okay, so we're starting at A and we're putting in, okay, this is not, there is an I. Okay, so we might not need path actually. We might just need the return path. In that case, return path. We just push everything in here, okay? And then if it is visited, don't do anything. Okay, so let's just do a console.log return path. Let's see what happens. Valid words dependency map. This is line 68. Okay, wait, unexpected end of input. That's not good. I see what the problem is. Okay, it is the for loop here. Right, there we go. Onset property is valid of undefined. Okay, let's see why. If node, okay, of undefined. So what is node here? Node is undefined, huh? Okay, so why is it undefined? Map.get dependency map. Okay, you know what? That's kind of annoying. So let's just not. I think it's just keys. Map.get keys of I. Let's just do. Let's just do that. Still undefined, huh? Okay.
Well, that's different, right?
Well, that's a different undefined. Yeah. That's a different undefined. Yeah. So let's do a console.log of node. Okay, so we're going through A, B here, okay, and J. So path.slice. Okay, that's the problem here. Let's see what this is. Still undefined. Okay. Push, return. I guess you could just return, right? Not really returning that. So, I think I see why. Okay, so equals. Okay, here's the problem. So get rid of this guy. We don't need this second parameter. Here it is. Okay. All right, so we've got something going on here. A, B, C, and J. That does not seem right, but at least we've got something. A, B.
Part of the issue is that you're basically ignoring your recursion.
I see. You're right.
But you're calculating the recursion, and then you're not doing anything with it. You're actually just appending the keys, and you, I think, need to be assuming recursion is working the way you want it. You basically appending the results of the recursion.
I see. Okay. I see what's going on here. I think I can fix it. Let me see if I could do this real quick. I actually do think we need a path. And what we should do is do this instead. Equals path dot slice. Okay. And what we do is path. All right, so now what we should do is this. Right, keys of I, path of slice. Okay, let's just check this out. Okay, that's not correct. Path dot push. Here's I dot value. Okay, let's just see console dot log of path over here. See what's going on. Is path not doing anything? Path should contain a value in it. A, B, C, and J, okay. No dot value, okay.
Yeah, so I think we should probably wrap up because we're right at the end of the interview. If you've got a couple more minutes, I've got a couple more minutes just to chat and answer questions and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that sounds good. It's just it's slightly difficult for me to think slightly more or switch off context from the problem, but that's fine. That's okay.
In general, I think you were on the right path. Like there's a couple ways you can do this problem, but this is definitely sort of one of them, is to do a recursion down to the bottom. And then, when you find things that have no dependencies, you build them, and then you sort of build all of the children, and then you go up to basically...
Actually, right. So here actually was supposed to be reversed. I'm supposed to return something like the return path dot reversed, something like that. Because since A is dependent on the parent, so since we're dealing with parents here, not really children, the answer should be reversed. But I'm a little surprised that the past isn't really storing things in it. Maybe something is slightly missing because it is turning out as empty, which is kind of concerning.
Yeah, I think like the one thing that I might suggest is just in the future maybe sort of pseudocode or even sort of write out in language kind of what you think the different steps are for your algorithm. Because I think you did a couple things in here that were probably just complicated, like more complicated than they needed to be, as you sort of wound something up and then kind of unwound it again. And I think that's making it a bit more confusing to sort of track what's going on here.
I see. Sure.
But yeah, overall, like I think the approach is right.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, thanks so much for taking the time for sure. Anything that sort of you're curious about, or that I can tell you about kind of before we wrap up?
Yeah. So I was kind of wondering more about the role. So the or interviewing.io says that the role is for a back-end engineer, but when I'm looking at the job description, it says a senior back-end engineer. So I was kind of wondering what that was about.
In general, we're looking probably mostly for senior engineers, but kind of generally like across whatever experiences, if we find someone who seems like they'd be a good fit. So we have a couple different back-end teams, and so each of them are looking for like slightly different things. And so we sort of got we've got one team which we call like the growth infrastructure team, which does sort of a combination of a lot of sort of commerce and subscriptions work. So subscriptions and billing, and then also sort of user targeting and messaging and some of the back-end systems for doing that. We've got the business team, which works on sort of the back end of the Evernote for Business kind of product. And then we've got the sort of core platform and back-end teams that manage the sort of service deployment platform and run a lot of the sort of core service.
Okay. Cool. It sounds great. So my background is that I only have I have 2 years of experience, including my internship in the industry. So I don't know if I'll make. Well, I mean, you guys are saying that you're looking for really anyone who seems to be a good fit for the company. So yeah, hopefully that also gets taken into consideration as well.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely wouldn't worry, too much about the experience issue. Like we let, especially like interviewing.io, know sort of what kind of, range we're open to. And so, if you're here, that means that we definitely have, opportunities.
Cool. That's great. That sounds great.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, hey, thanks again. It was really great to meet you, and appreciate you taking. Yep.
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. Well, enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Bye.